Hey there, hunters. Back again here with another Torchlight Infinite build. This is my Castwell channeling Ignite Explode Gemma. I'm going to run a quick map and then we can go over the build. So this one is primarily designed to just be a mapper. It's got some pretty good bossing potential, but I've just mainly been focusing on leveling up for now. Okay, here's the boss, and it's dead. Alright, so the core of this build is using Gemma to maximize cold and fire damage. I'm using, this is an Ignite build, so I'm using Goddess of Darkness, Warlock, and then Druid is a little bit of an unusual one. I don't see many people using this tree, but I think it's actually really great. So mainly what I'm going for on my passives is just damage over time, skill effect duration, attack and cast speed, life, and skill levels. Duration is very powerful, especially for reaps. The way I'm doing with reap purification, I've opted for a subtle impact rather than poison belief. This is the more defensive option. I just prefer more damage. Warlock, cooldown reduction, of course. We're a trigger build with several different cooldowns, so the more attack and cast speed we get, the faster our cast while channeling will be firing. And then, of course, off the beaten track, 3 support skill levels, and mana multiplier set to 105. This is actually massive, especially when you're running multiple different skills on your passives and want to have a lot of links. Again, damage, ailment damage, life, reservation, etc. CDR levels, very big. Blur on kill, very useful. And then Druid, so you get 3% life and mana regeneration speed per skill used, up to 45%, and then cast speed per skill used recently up to 15 times. So yeah, so this is a ton of cast speed and a ton of regen, and since you're channeling, you're always using skills, so this is basically always at full benefit. And then I'm using Nowhere to be Found, 2 agility blessings, and then remove negative effects and dots. I'll go into a little bit more detail, but a large part of this build's damage comes from agility blessings. So life damage, spell damage. This isn't the most efficient, but there wasn't many options here. Mana regen, agility blessings. This is big. Restore 2% life when receiving agility blessing. AoE and prod speed. This is really efficient because we use both projectiles and AoE. CDR, of course. Mana cost and sealed. Here we go. Cast speed, so even more cooldown reduction. And then 10% chance to gain agility blessings when casting. So we're channeling, so we're casting 10, 15 times per second. So we're almost constantly gaining agility blessings, which means we're constantly recovering life. And we're also constantly removing negative effects, which I assume is crowd control, as well as any damage over time. So in terms of gear, we are an Ignite build. So we're using Sun's Embrace. This is a pretty stock standard Ignite item. It lets you have one more Ignite, and then you apply 2 Ignites at a time. This is something I got recently and is probably the most expensive item in the build. Also completely unnecessary, but when you can get Explode, it really does feel great. For a long time, I was just using something like this. It's just a very, very basic chest piece. You know, you can fit life, resistance, whatever here. You could put another unique. I just, you know, this was just like a fairly flexible piece. Gloves, these are great. So elemental spell skill level that scales Ice Lance, Frost Pool, and several others, including Flaming View, stuff like that. Elemental damage scales everything. And then what's really great here is these 3 mods. So minus 10 resistance for 3 seconds on fire, cold, and lightning spell hit. So my main spell is Ice Lance, so that's cold damage. Then I have both this ring and then Flaming View to add fire. And then I got this ring to add lightning attacks and spells while Blur is active. Now, if you remember, I'm getting Blur whenever I kill. So 99% of the time, I have Blur active. And then the rest of the time, I would just be getting the 2. Like on bosses, on long bosses, where I might not be killing anything, I'll only be getting 20%. But hey, that's still pretty good. And of course, cast speed, more CDR, more efficiency. Let's see. So the core of the build is built around these 2 items. So Feline Steps gives you a stack of Agility Blessing when reaping, and then 8% reaping cooldown per stack of Agility Blessing. So I'm stacking Agility Blessings here, and I have 11. So that means I have 88% reaping cooldown recovery speed. So that means this reap is about 0.75 second cooldown, and then the reap I have on my supports is about a 0.25 second cooldown. So I'm reaping constantly, and then I'm using this weapon, which you might see more commonly used in the attack Ignite version, but you still get full benefit from this mod, and this mod as a spell build. So we're adding, let's see, what is it? 40% times 11, so 440% of main hand weapon. It's about 3,600 approximately base Ignite damage that we're adding. Then this is about 450 fire damage, which I think also gets converted, or which I think also scales cold damage, because this is like an increased modifier, and Gemma makes cold and fire scale equally. And then what's also great is this mod, so 13% chance to gain 3 stacks of Blessing, which means I have a 13% chance to gain 6% life anytime I hit, and I'm hitting 5 to 6 times a second. So that makes a really great recovery. Now on my belt, this is where you're probably going to want to get Reap Purification. You could potentially go Psychic instead of Warlock. You might have to change up your passives a little bit, maybe D-level. I'm using 3 flat auras, so I imagine you just have to D-level those a little bit. But the way I have the character built right now, I'm getting it on my belt, and then I also have another Agility Blessing here. There's a lot of different options you can get here. I just opted for LA damage, which is great, scales everything, ailments, of course, and then strength is basically life. So this was pretty efficient. You could also get a Reap source on your belt instead of your amulet, which would then free this up. There's several other good unique options, but I'm almost entirely a unique build, and my resistance is pretty bad, but we're doing kind of a glass cannon thing, and I think I like the way this works for now. But yeah, I mean, the basic idea is adding a ton of flat damage to all of your ignites, and then you just run around constantly reapplying them. Go over the dummy, and this isn't like the best indicator of the build's DPS. something like, between 30 million-ish on average. But, more than you need for mapping. Like I said, I haven't really been doing any bosses on this guy, but once I level up, I'll maybe be giving it a go. Overall, I really love this character. It's fast, it's efficient, all of the like the passives line up really well. Yeah, you want to go this one because Ignite inflicted by a cold skill adds 100% of the skill's cold damage to the base Ignite damage. So I'm using Ice Lance here, which has a pretty decent amount of flat cold damage. So that's added to the Ignite. On top of the 3500 flat Ignite from the gun. Then projectiles are really great because you get to use Wind and Pierce. Both of these have projectile damage and ailment damage. Now, I'm not sure if this additional projectile damage counts for the damage being added to ignites, or if it's just this raw amount. But either way, these are two really efficient supports, and they help it shoot almost off screen. Additional ignite, pretty straightforward. GMP, you can swap this for something else on bosses, probably just ailment damage or whatever, something like that. Let's see, yeah, so Path of Flames is my channeling trigger. I've got Guard, Cataclysm, and Reap. Mana Boil, this mainly scales Frost Pool. I'm not sure if, again, the additional spell damage counts for the spell damage added to ignites, but there's not really many other options, and I only have to press it once per map. Elemental Destruction, I'm opting for elemental penetration rather than kind of just raw ignite or damage over time scaling. There's a lot of efficiency with that from Gemma. She gets 36% pen from her passive, and then this is 22 or 21.5, 22%, and then let me see here. Yeah, then 30% from the gloves. So we're looking at around 80, almost 90% elemental resistance penetration, which is pretty cool. So then I'm running Swiftness and Mana Source. This is a very mana-intensive build, so this is pretty much mandatory. As a running build, this helps a lot. May or may not be the most efficient, but it feels pretty good. Precise Deep Pain for the dot duration, which is very important, as well as Affliction. And then Selfishness, which just buffs these. And then I'm running Precise Flame Imbue for the extra ignite damage, but the flame pool is actually kind of interesting because it's a reap source, it applies Cataclysm, and it just helps with clear. So I mean, if you don't have the explode chest, then the flame pool from ignite imbue will work almost exactly the same. So kill mob, there's a flame pool, everything gets reaped if it's not dead already, and then boom, it just clears up. And since we have so much cooldown reduction, the 2-second cooldown here is probably half a second. Or yeah, it's only 1.5 seconds. So this is probably half a second cooldown, if that. Overall, very fun build. Not the cheapest. It does take a few specific items to really start popping off. But if you just wanted to do a simple, safe T7 farmer, I think this is a really great character. Well, yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'll be streaming on Twitch and on YouTube. Keep an eye out. I'll put my links down below. Yeah, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.